All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA live stream. We have you guys covered here with the Sunday slate, and we were kind of mentioning kind of before the video that it's a pretty interesting slate. We have two high total games. But yeah, you want to just kind of recap what we were saying beforehand?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, pretty interesting slate. Looks like we talked before the Chicago game and the Portland game kind of highlight the best game totals here on this slate. So super excited about those games. But yeah, it looks like a fun game or a fun slate here on a Sunday. So excited to break this down.
Yeah, we have a couple of big spots for injuries as well. Orlando's pretty banged up, so we'll talk about that. I think we're actually getting a little bit of value in Houston with some of their injuries, and that's we're kind of getting some interesting injury spots just in general for tonight. The one I was waiting on was Josh Giddey, whether or not he'd play. He's good to go, and Kobe White. So we'll talk about all that stuff here, though. Let's start off with the early game, which is going to be Brooklyn versus Washington, and so not too many injuries here for them. And what do I got going on here? Am I messing up?
Oh, I think they're not on the main slate. That's why.
Oh, they're not.
Yeah,
Oh, my bad. I did that. I did that yesterday too. My bad. We'll start with Golden State versus. Why aren't they? I'm getting so sick of that. This is super annoying. I want the big slates back. So we'll start with Golden State versus the Pelicans. So looking at them, we got Golden State. Jonathan Kuminga's out. DeAnthony Melton's still out as well. So who are you looking at for the Golden State Warriors?
Yeah, so I think Golden State super interesting here. Obviously, a great spot here against New Orleans. Starting up top, I think both Jimmy and Steph look great on FanDuel and DK, but I do slightly prefer, I think, Steph in the spot. Interested to hear your take, but I really like Steph. Fine with Jimmy, and then in terms of Moody and Pods, I think they're both fine for a cheap value, but I do prefer other value spots overall in the slate. How about you?
Yeah, for me, the player that I actually like the most is actually Draymond Green, but that's mostly for FanDuel purposes. Power forward, center eligible, only 7% owned. Just kind of looking at the per 36 numbers with Kuminga off, he's actually been the player that benefits the most, and I really just like his ownership there at that price tag. That seems like a mistake, and then I'm fine, I guess, doing dart throws on Moody, especially on FanDuel where he's too cheap, and then Pods is fine. Will Richards okay, but I don't necessarily love the minutes, and also it's a 10-point spread and a lower scoring game, so it is tough to get too excited. But I think just other than Green, who I want to get to a lot on FanDuel, everyone else just kind of seems like if I end up on them, I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah, I love that shout. 5,400 with the stall upside. I really like that shot there.
And then we'll jump into the Pelicans here. And so getting into them, we do know that Murray and Poole are still out. Zion currently questionable. He only is projected for 25 minutes. So what are we doing here with Zion, who is questionable with a hamstring injury?
Yeah, so Zion's super interesting, projected for 25 minutes if he does play here. Just this New Orleans team, very difficult to really get to anyone in a heavy capacity here. I think Fears probably would be my favorite. He is the chalkiest, but 5,100 is still probably too cheap in my opinion for him. Then the rest of the team here, man, I want to hear your take, but I'm just not really interested in too much outside of Fears here.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But even Fears, I worry he's too chalky he's only projected for 28 minutes, and with Zion being back for 25 minutes, I feel like he's a little bit too risky, even at that chalk, not really at the price, at his chalk ownership. But yeah, other than that, everyone kind of just feels correct. I mean, Alvarado's okay as a punt play, but only 21 minutes. Derek Queen can, be a point per minute type producer, but only 25 minutes for him. So if Zion were to sit, I feel like he'd be a fine GPP option, but really, I don't know if we necessarily want to be eating up our center spot with him.
Yeah, 100%. It's just with Zion back here, he kind of just muddies up the entire rotation, and it's just kind of a tough spot here. So I'm right here with you.
I mean, maybe this might sound weird, but Bay and Herbert Jones would actually maybe come a little bit better with Zion there, just because the game has a chance of staying closer and you're not losing the blowout run, but it just doesn't seem worthwhile.
Yeah, agreed.
And then the Brooklyn. All right, so the Brooklyn game's on the FanDuel main, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I thought so. Okay, I just had it wrong with DK. All right, so we'll jump back into that game here. Sorry about that, everyone. So yes, Cam Thomas is out. Highsmith is still out for Brooklyn here. I believe we got a shout from Porter. Yeah, so Porter and Claxton from Unicorn Love on FanDuel. So we'll start with those two. Any love for those two?
Yeah, I think they're both, great. Washington, very, very good matchup. Close
Mm-hmm.
spread here. Totally fine with either one. MPJ has been incredible for Brooklyn. Totally revamped his game on this team. So
Yeah.
totally good with both. And then, yeah, Noah Clowney, I think he's fine, but those top two for sure are my priorities here.
Yeah, just in the matchup, we do want to be targeting, some of these plays. Even I was gonna say even like man, but I feel like that's a little bit too low. I mean, Demon's a little bit too cheap. He's actually the second best or best FanDuel value for this team. Point guard, shooting guard as well. Not getting too much ownership, 18%. Maybe
Yeah,
get to him a little bit more.
yeah, 4K fly, right? So it doesn't need to do too much. 25 minutes. Yeah, totally fine with Demon as well. Or Demon, how do you pronounce it?
Yeah, I know. That's my bad. We'll jump into Washington here then. So for Washington, they're good to go. So Koulibaly was questionable to start the day. He is good to go. We have him projected for 25.5 minutes. I think that ends up being right. And with him being active, it kind of, I don't know, for me, it kind of ends up being a little bit like a little bit like the Pelicans, where I just don't necessarily need to get to anyone now because the minutes are all just being spread out.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's just kind of a deep rotation as well with Washington. All these young guys. I think Sarr's probably safest here. Very chalky. I do prefer Claxton on the other side.
Yeah.
Totally fine. I guess I'm fine with them, but I think Claxton's a little bit safer. Kaishan George, 6,100, maybe as a filler play. But yeah, they're all fine filler plays for me. Nothing stands out too much here.
Yeah, I wanted to jump back into that. So with the Claxton and Sarr calls. So I agree. I like Claxton better, but we can play Sarr power forward. Is there a situation where you're playing both of them at all?
Yeah, I think so for sure. Yeah, I didn't even realize. Yeah, power forward eligible on FanDuel. Yeah, totally fine playing them both together for sure.
But would you like Claxton over Sarr if you had to choose? I know the data does slightly. No, that's not true. If index wise, Sarr's a little bit better, but DK or FanDuel value, Claxton's a little bit better.
I think I would probably lean with Claxton still, but just barely. I mean, I think it's probably close to a toss up still.
Okay, sweet. So let's see. Any more questions coming in? Not really. If you guys have any questions, get those in, guys. It is a smaller slate, so we'll be able to answer those when they come in. And then we jump on in here to the Orlando versus Houston game. So Houston is going to be favored by 7.5 points, and it's a very low game total, about 223.5. So for Orlando, they are going to be without Banchero, Suggs, and Mo Wagner. And so this is where we should be getting a lot of our plays. I am kind of shocked at some of the ownerships, but I assume it's because of the low scoring game and it's now 8-point spread.
Yeah, super interesting here, man. Anthony Black here with no Suggs. Looks like he's pulling the most steam here. 35%. Don't love the matchup, but he's going to play heavy minutes here. And then I'm fine with De Silva as well. Great DK value. Should play heavy minutes, so totally fine with either of those two. Did you like Bane or these value guys, or how are you handling Orlando?
Yeah, I actually think I like Bane and Franz Wagner a little bit more. I just the issue is going to be the game total, but it's just I like their price tags, even though they are priced up a little bit. Like Wagner, I feel like is going to be a safe 40. Could be wrong about that. I will say game total being that low and with it being a blowout, that there is a lot of concern there for sure. And we really haven't seen those two operate together with Banchero off the court. So that's definitely a concern to me. But Bane definitely seems safe on both sides. It's Wagner. But looking at Wagner, he does average 43 points per 36 with Banchero off the court. And that's just with Banchero, not adding Suggs in there as well. So I like him. But yeah, Anthony Black, pretty solid. De Silva, pretty solid as well. Wendell Carter, I don't know if I necessarily want to eat up the center spot, but he feels like a very safe play as well. His per 36 production isn't necessarily great. It's only 31 DFS points, and we don't have him projected to get that much. Only 31. So that's fine. I think they're all fine. The usage rate with Wagner goes up 10% though with Banchero off the court. So I like chasing that. I wish it was honestly a little bit lower owned though.
Yeah, Franz, you mentioned a very high usage rate, and yeah, you mentioned his floor is pretty dang safe, especially without Paula. So totally fine with Franz. Agreed.
Any love for you, like punting to Isaac or Goga? I mean, they can be point per minute producers. It's tough to say this year if that's going to be the case because this is really the first time we're seeing kind of this rotation.
Yeah, I think they're both, properly owned here, 3% and 2%.
Mhm.
Pretty tough spot, I think, off the bench. They really have to crush in their minutes. So you could maybe get there, as a sprinkle, but probably going to touch or get to other value for the most part.
Yeah, I say that because Houston does or can run out a bigger lineup. And so, obviously trying to get maybe an additional minutes on some of those players. But looking at Houston, we do know that Easton's out and then DFS and Van Fleet are still out here. To me, I actually think Reed Shepherd becomes a little bit of a better look. I'm surprised at only 12%, but maybe it's because people are chasing the later games. What are your thoughts on him first? Any thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think he's totally fine here, man. Probably my favorite Houston guy, at least for value here for sure. He's been super good. I don't know if you noticed, he's kind of taken over Tari Eason's six-man role here for Houston.
Mhm.
So they really like him over at Houston. I think he's great for DFS. Totally fine as a value play there.
And then just kind of looking at it from a value standpoint, Jabari Smith is popping up as a good one. Josh Okogie, I'm butchering that. He's popping up as a good value. Pretty low owned though, 9%, 25 projected minutes. I'd be okay with that. Multiple position eligibility on FanDuel, but priced up a little bit more there. So I don't know. Do you like either of those two tonight?
Yeah, I think who was the first guy you mentioned? Sorry, I lost it. Okogie.
Yep.
I think they're both fine. Jabari kind of was my preferred play between the two, but
Yeah.
what I don't like about Okogie is just his DFS production, not the best fantasy point per minute guy. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of just trying to avoid Okogie for the most part.
And then pay-ups here. We have KD and Sangoon. I don't necessarily want to get to Sangoon. It seems like the field's doing that as well. Just because we have other center options, it's not really anything against him. Are you with the field with me there with that take, or kind of what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, 100% agreed. Pretty tough spot here for Sengun, 9,400. Don't love the price point. We mentioned, in that FanDuel slate, we also have the centers over there. So, yeah, it's just kind of a tough spot here for Sengun.
All right, so we'll jump on into kind of the fun game, I would say. We'll start with, we got two fun games. So sorry. We'll do Portland first here. Portland versus Dallas. So we'll start with Portland. The biggest question mark that we have is Drew Holiday. Is he going to be active? Now, we have him projected for 34 minutes. He is definitely questionable, though. So, like, this could change the slate. I mean, we're probably looking at Sharp to be a very good play. Danny Avdia would become a much better option. And then even Jeremy Grant would be a little bit more appealing as well. Do you think those plays are still good enough plays alone if Drew Holiday plays?
Yeah, I think so. Also, I think my camera might have went out. Just try to get that back here. But
kind of frozen. Yeah.
Yeah. Starting with Portland here, I think Shaden Sharp either way looks great here. Even if Drew Holiday does end up sitting or playing, I think he looks great. So love Sharp either way. And then I think Denny as well, 8,800, 8,400. Love Denny in this spot. So totally fine with both those guys either way. And then I did want to ask you about Klingon and Grant because both of them are super interesting in my opinion. Klingon very chalky, projects out decent on the model. So what are your takes on Klingon and Grant? And then how do you feel about these studs here with Portland?
Yeah, so Donovan Klingang is just a little bit too cheap, and so he does rank out as just a very good value. Again, it's like kind of like the last day where we're seemingly getting a lot of good center plays, and so I'm fine kind of eating the chalk on him. I don't see the need to go out of my way to be overweight on him. But overall, that seems correct. I'm perfectly happy to get to him. Only projected for 26 minutes, but he should be able to get there in those minutes. For Grant, I kind of think it's worth the risk. I kind of am leaning towards Drew Holiday playing, which would mean that Grant is not a great play. But the fact that Holiday was like a late add-on to it and he's becoming a true game time decision makes me lean more towards Grant. And just looking at his per 36 production, he does have the most minutes with Drew Holiday off the court. And his per 36 production is 42 DFS points, DraftKings points. So per 36. So that is crazy. 26 actual points as well. So he becomes a great flyer. But it's weird because I do think he's a little bit over-owned right now if Drew Holiday does play. And so it's definitely an interesting spot there because if Holiday's out, I think he becomes one of the best plays. If Holiday's in, I feel like he's a little bit too overvalued ownership-wise.
100%. Couldn't have put it any better there. He's just kind of been the guy off the bench for them. So potentially if Holiday's out, more usage, more shots. So I love that call. Yeah, very dependent on Holiday's and usage.
And then let's see. So do you see Sharp and Avdia as like, to me, I see Sharp as just like a great play on both sides. Kind of a roster starting point.
Yeah.
Do you see that too?
He's a core play for me for sure as well. Yeah.
And then I hope the camera issue isn't on my end for you.
Let me try disabling and turning it back on.
I'm just curious. Chat, if you can just let us know, is Jayhawk just frozen and that's all it is? Because if that's it, we're kind of fine. You guys can hear him. Just give us a thumbs up or something just to confirm.
As long as you can hear me, that's important.
We'll jump on into Dallas here. So Dallas, PJ Washington is expected to play. He's probable, and Anthony Davis is out, and so minutes wise, the highest projected minutes is going to be Cooper Flagg. He is probably properly priced. Not many people are getting to him, although I feel like he's somewhat safe play. Max Christie, again, a little bit of ownership. PJ Washington, kind of cheap on FanDuel, getting some ownership there. Probably properly priced on DraftKings. What are your thoughts here for the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah, Dallas, I think, is super interesting tonight, man. Just all kind of low around here, pretty, it's a kind of interesting spot here, high total. So I don't know, man. I think my initial thought was kind of to Brandon Williams and PJ Washington here. I like their price points. So those are kind of the guys I was targeting at their prices. But, Gafford and Christie both projecting for, a little bit of ownership as well. I did want to hear your take on those two. But yeah, for me, it was PJ, B. Will, and then kind of fading the rest of these guys.
Yeah, so like for me with Gafford, I think we have other spots to get to center wise. I feel like the 16% is a little bit too rich for me with 23.4 projected minutes. I'd rather get to Kling Yang much more than that. Like I would take the ownerships that I'm getting for Gafford and just put it to him. Not a terrible way though to get some exposure to the high game total, 238.5, close game. I don't mind it. I do like Christie actually a decent amount. Just with the multiple position eligibility, to me, that's valuable with the small forward shooting guard.
Yeah, good price point there for sure. And then Brandon Williams did really get his minutes cut in the second half last game. Did you see what happened there with Jason Kidd?
I did not get a chance to kind of see the reason why that happened. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. And if anyone in the chat knows, just let us know as well. So, yeah, I'm not.
I think it was. I don't know if it was defensive purposes or if he was shooting bad or whatever, but he lost a ton of minutes in the second half. So definitely something interesting to note there.
Yeah, only 18 minutes for him total, 7 points, 2 for 9. Could have just been that.
That's what I'm leaning. Yeah, poor shooting.
Mm-hmm. So we'll go ahead here and jump on into. We'll do Atlanta versus Philly. Now we'll do Chicago versus Utah. That's a fun one. We'll jump into that one. So. We'll start with Chicago here. So for Chicago, Josh Giddey, probable. Trey Jones, questionable. Zach Collins is still out. So the reason why this game is appealing is it's a very high game total, 245.5. And you look at the Bulls, there's not too much ownership for any of the Bulls players. Okay. Even Nikola Vucevic on FanDuel, where he's too cheap in my eyes, 5%, that seems kind of like a mistake to me. I know the FanDuel value. He is the best FanDuel value, but it's not great. And so I could be wrong. First, do you think I'm wrong there? If not, kind of what are your thoughts on Vooch?
Yeah, so starting with Vooch, I think that's way too low, man. 8K flat. Like we mentioned a bunch of other centers. Out of all these low end centers, he's definitely my preferred play here. Very good spot here against Utah. So love Vooch at that ownership. I really like that shout. And then even with Kobe White back here, I just really think Giddey's in a really good spot here, in this total. So I love getting to Giddey as well. I think both Vooch and Giddey make a ton of sense. And then the rest of the team here, Jalen Smith, 4K, kind of am questioning that ownership there.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to hear your take, but that seems a little bit high with all the centers. But Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
take.
For the projected minutes we have him at, for sure, on this slate, it does seem too high. I get it, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me on this. I mean, we don't even have him projected to be like a great value as well. Like 13.4, that's not the best. And like OF index rating, pretty low OF index rating. So I
Yeah.
think it's fine to skip on him. Kobe White's clearly overpriced, really on both sites, just worth calling it out. Like 5.8 on FanDuel, which is fine, but it's a 7.5 on DK. That is just way too high. So definitely staying away from him. What about Kevin Huerter? Is he just, we can't play him anymore? He was kind of hot, but with Kobe White back, he's just not someone we're getting to.
Yeah, so Kevin Huerter here, I agree, kind of just tougher to get to at the price point. With Giddy out, he looked a lot better, but I think here, kind of stay away at that price.
And we got some people going back to the Dallas game real quick. They say Russell was just playing really well. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Top three for cash. We'll get into that after the next game here. So we'll talk about that in just a second. We'll talk about that. Top three FanDuel spend-ups. We'll talk about that here in just a second as well. And so, yeah, we'll jump into Utah here. Give me 1 second. So, yeah, for Utah, kind of appealing that this game is projected to stay close. It is obviously a high-scoring game. No big injuries. We had some people talking about Yusuf Nurk, so let's start there. I think it's a good starting point. Not really popping up data-wise. That's kind of the first call out for him. Pretty cheap on FanDuel, 23% projected ownership, but only a 12.8 FanDuel value rating, which really not good. So what are your thoughts with him?
Yeah, so I've kind of been on Nurkic the past couple slates, but I think on this slate, kind of trusting the model here, high total, but combining the price and low DK value rating, I think he's probably a little bit sharp to get away from here, even at sub 20%. So, yeah, fine getting away from Nurk here. The guy I do like here a bunch, and I wanted to hear your take. Well, there's two. Lauri Markkanen, I think he's a fantastic play, even at the high price one. And then Ace Bailey, I think he's kind of like the true question mark here, even with Collier back. Do you like Ace Bailey? Do you like Lauri? What are your takes here with the Utah guys?
Yeah, I like Lauri Markkanen. I'm fine with that. Finding the chalk there. I think that's, especially if we're trying to like game side this game. If you're trying to get to like, I don't know, 5 players, that might be a little bit too much, but like 4 players in this game, he's definitely going to be one of them. I'm doing the opposite. I'm not getting Ace Bailey. I'm getting to Isaiah Collier. That's more of an ownership play. And for me, I'm happy to see that the model likes him value-wise kind of the best. And so that's definitely confirmation bias, but I'm eating that up a bunch there. I like that, especially for FanDuel where he's a little bit cheaper. Only 3% there. I get people probably don't want to just use him in the point guard spot, but I'm fine with it. I think that's a great way to get exposure to this high game total, and at that ownership, that's a spot that I like.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost like a buy low spot, right? Like Coley is very good. He is a good producer, and you're getting him at low ownership. So really like that.
It is just looking at the ownership here. It's kind of fascinating. Like Keontae George, that makes sense. Lauri Markkanen being chalked, that makes sense. Yusuf Nurk, per the date, is a little bit overvalued, but still fine. Like I think I'd be fine kind of playing 3 of the highest owned, Keontae George, Markkanen, and even Yusuf, even though I don't necessarily like him, but eating the chalk there's not terrible. And then we could run it back with even Vooch. I think we could do that, do double centers if you want to. Again, I don't like Nurk, but it's not like a terrible way to attack this game.
Yeah. I think Nurk, I'm not like too worried about him necessarily getting run off the court, but I am kind of worried about just like how fast this game is, if he can like really thrive in it. But we'll see, I guess, right?
Yeah, but if Vooch is, getting his normal minutes, I don't. I get what you're saying, but I don't see that. Like if Vooch is on the court, Yusuf is going to be on the court.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most likely.
Could be wrong though. Could be wrong about that. And then we got one more game here as well. Not as fun of a game. We'll jump into it. So we got Atlanta versus Phoenix. So looking at guys, it is a 1.5 point spread, 227.5 game total. So a lower scoring game. We are seeing Jalen Johnson pull in a bunch of ownership. That's with Trae Young being out and Porzingis still questionable. Is that why he's pulling in that much ownership, or are people just really liking him in this matchup?
I think it might be a little bit of both. Obviously, Kristaps does open up more usage for Jalen, but I think it's more of Jalen just been that guy, right? He's been incredible
Mhm.
for Atlanta here. No issues at all with Jalen. Love him at his price. I mean, it's kind of been a broken record at Occupy. We've kind of play him like all the time going up to last
Mhm.
year, but I love him here. Needless to say, I think he looks great.
Would you rank him like top 3 or top 5 for you?
Let's see. Let me pull it up on the model. It's
Put you on
different.
the spot. I know.
Um, I'll go. I'll go top three. I think Jalen, Giddy. Those are two of my top three. So I'd probably say, yeah, he's in there.
If Porzingis does end up sitting, is there like a must play, or is it just we kind of get a little bit more exposure to all the bigs for Atlanta?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a Kongwu at his price, maybe you could bump a little bit. Um, I think I'd probably just spread out the exposure. Who's the other guy? Mohammed Gay. His price. He's not even in the model. Is he? Is he out tonight? He might be out tonight.
And it didn't. I don't think so. Let me see.
He's also another guy I think that could bump a couple minutes as well if Kristaps sits.
Yeah, I mean, if Porzingis is out, you're right. He probably ends up being a pretty strong option for us.
That's just another shot I wanted to get there, but yeah, it's kind of my take.
For FanDuel, I will say Alexander Walker. I would really. It sounds weird, but I'd like him much more if Porzingis does end up sitting. I know it's a shooting guard, and a big shouldn't really change it that much, but I think that ends up being just a better play at 5.7.
Yeah, and then I did want to hear your thoughts on Risachet because he's had a couple spike games, a couple bad games, and then Dyson Daniels probably FanDuel preferred for me, but I want to hear your take as well there as well.
Yeah, Daniels. I don't. I mean, I honestly don't know what Daniels is. It's probably the worst take I can have. I just don't have a good feel for him right now.
Yeah.
So just you're better off telling people kind of what to do at that spot. But for Zach Reichesher there, I'm fine with him. Obviously, if Porzingis ends up sitting, I would say he's the player that I would want to get to more so with Porzingis being out. Like if he ends up getting to 30 minutes or so, maybe even 32, especially on FanDuel, small forward, power forward eligible, I would imagine he would become chalkier. We're not getting that much ownership for him right now, but he'd become much more appealing then.
100% agreed. He looks a lot better. Yeah, Kristaps does sit here.
And then let's jump on into Phoenix. So Phoenix, Grayson Allen is out, Jalen Green is out. And so are we playing? I guess who are we playing here? There's a bunch of guards that we can get to. Jordan Goodwin is popping a little bit, actually a decent amount. Colin Gillespie is someone that's pretty appealing on both sides, price tag wise. A lot of ownership for him. Dylan Brooks, I would say he's not priced up enough on FanDuel. He's kind of fine. Royce O'Neal is someone that should benefit as well with all those players sitting. Who are you getting to here for the Suns?
Yeah, so Suns, I think, super interesting. Very good team to target here in this spot. Starting with Colin Gillespie, he is my highest, exposed player from Phoenix. I think he looks great both sides. So love Gillespie here. And then I'm a little bit worried with Booker in this spot, just with Dyson and the matchup. So I'm a little bit under on Booker. I think he's fine both sides, but I do love Goodwin once again here. 4,100. Really like the price, and if I'm getting less of Booker, it makes sense to get to more of Goodwin. And then I do want to shout out, like you mentioned, this is Chuck's boy, Dylan Brooks, 4%. I have to shout him out. Shout out to Chuck. Totally fine getting there, especially if we're going to be under, or I'm going to be under on Booker. Makes sense to get to the rest of the team here.
The issue with the Suns is like other than Devin Booker, no one's projected for more than 30 minutes. So like for Brooks specifically, I want him to get more minutes than that. 2 games ago, got 31. So if we can get 3 additional minutes out of him, that's huge. A lot of that is just due to games being blowouts, though. So assuming this game does stay close, like it's projected to, we get those extra few minutes out of him, and that really could be the difference, right? That could end up being 5 DFS points, and that's enough.
100% agreed. And then the last guy I did want to talk about, Mark Williams. What's your take there? I'm kind of neutral on him. I think he's probably properly owned.
Yeah. I'm not getting to him, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't argue the 10%. I get what people are trying to get to. I'm probably 3% with him. We got Chuck calling out Dylan Brooks at 4%. What are you at with Dylan Brooks tonight? I'm kind of curious there, Chuck. And then we got some people calling you out for being frozen and stuck. Should call you Elsa for the live stream tonight.
Yeah, sorry.
That's a dad joke right there. I'm sorry. Watching that movie too much, Frozen. Let's go ahead and just talk about kind of the top 3 plays on both sides. So we got that question a couple of times here. So based off of the OF index right now, Jalen Johnson's number 1, Sengun, Giddey, Curry, Avdia, Lord Markkinen. And I'm going through that list, and I know you said you like Jalen Johnson. I don't see any of those like really separating themselves from each other. I feel like they're all kind of correctly owned, and they're all kind of just solid plays. For me, I don't see the need to like target any one of them specifically over the other.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I mean, each one of them has their own, matchup here, respective spot. So, model does lean with Johnson. I'm not saying I'm going to go like insanely overweight, but I think, out of the bunch here, he's probably my favorite. And then obviously those Portland guys, I think, are going to look a lot better if we do get that news of
Drew Holiday.
Yeah, Drew Holiday.
So we'll sort it by value here, and that does open it up a little bit more. And this is where I think we could talk about like cash plays. So we'll start with DraftKings. So Silva becomes, I would say, a pretty safe play on the slate, specifically on FanDuel as well. I mean, we're going to start with DraftKings, but FanDuel is much more appealing, I would say. But even on DraftKings, 24% projected ownership, multiple position eligibility, very, very solid. Donovan Clean-Yang also center eligible. I would rather get to him more so than some of the other centers that are around his price tag. And I'm like, for cash purposes or, top 3 kind of plays like that for value, I would rather get to him more than like Gafford, for example, like we mentioned. And then after that, it kind of feels like the top pay-ups for me, at least, where I get it. I don't necessarily see any of them as like must plays. They're all just kind of correct.
Yeah, I agree. Like you mentioned, I think, De Silva, the model does like him as well. I think he's probably the safest among the bunch here. Klingen, totally fine with. He's cheap enough where I'm kind of not too worried about the matchup or whatnot. So I agree.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about FanDuel real quick. It is basically the same. Brandon Williams pops a little bit more there, being a little bit cheaper there. Koulibaly, definitely a little bit too cheap there. 4.5, projected at 25.5 minutes. Yeah, he's pretty appealing there. I guess we didn't really mention that. How do you feel about him in that early game?
Yeah, I think he's super interesting. I don't know, man. He's very good defender, right? So he's out there a lot for defensive purposes. I think he's fine. I would rather get to like Sar and those guys. Yeah. We're likely going to see him on MPJ if I had to guess. So he's fine. I'm not too high on him today.
And then if Drew Holiday plays, he's at 40% on FanDuel. Is that chalk we're just fine eating?
Yeah, so we didn't really talk about that. Yeah, if Holiday plays, I think he looks fine. Both sides, yeah. Great play.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of a first look build here for you guys with DraftKings. So it is a 5-game slate here. So let's just start with Silva and also Clean-Yang there at the center spot. Kind of agree that those are 2 good plays. And then let's just, which payups did you want to get to again?
Model will say Jalen. I'm fine with that. If you're okay with that.
Yep. No, I'm fine with that. And then did you have another payup?
Let's see here. I think should we go? I like Denny a lot in that late game. We don't have to go there, but we actually let's go shade it. Let's go shade him. I know we both like shade. Let's go there.
Yeah, we both mentioned that. So and then we got a question with Jazz G Money. So no Anthony Black. I think we both really like Anthony Black. We're just, the statement was kind of like must plays on the slate. I mean you like Anthony Black, right?
Yeah, totally fine with Anthony Black.
Yeah, solid point per minute producer as well. So fine with him. Let's see here. So I'm going to click on the Portland and Dallas and then Chicago, Utah game. And then we can kind of try to get our exposure to him. I mentioned I really like Vooch, but that's more of a FanDuel play. We got Yusuf there, who's fine. PJ Washington's a cheap play. I think both of us, I'm more on Collier. You're more on Bailey. So I don't think we should put them in the build for now, but just kind of tossing it out there. Which plays do you want to get to the most here right now?
I'm kind of playing a little bit for Drew Holiday being out. So could we maybe get to Jeremy Green? Is he a small forward? Can we get Jeremy Green in there?
Yeah, yeah, perfectly fine.
I like him as well. I just love Portland tonight.
Yeah, I agree. And so if Holiday plays, obviously we'd adjust there. But he's the one player I'm most worried about if Holiday plays. Whereas everyone else, I still think they can get theirs, or they're just as not just as likely, but they should be able to at least hit value. Where if Grant has Holiday in the lineup there, he's just a tougher play to be in like the GPP winning lineup.
100% agreed. Yep.
Then anyone else here? I mean, we do have some. Let's talk about Utah here. So Utah, we both didn't mind Markkanen. George is fine. Yusuf is fine. Which one of those three would you like the most for this build?
Ooh, I think if we're not going Markkanen, I think getting to one of these guards makes sense. So if I'm with Keontae,
We'll do George. We'll do George for now.
Like
And then we're at like 5.9 on average. So I'm going to jump back into the model here and just see again what it's spitting out to us. So Brandon Williams is probably a play that we should get to right in that price tag. Josh Okogie, gosh, I'm butchering his name. He's right there as well. Jordan Goodwin's there. Anthony Black is fine. Wendell Carter, I like that as price tag. Decent way to maybe get to some of that Orlando bumps in usage. So a lot of options here. Any one of those plays stand out to you?
Yeah, I'd be fine with Goodwin. We also Gillespie is very chalky. I don't know if we want to go there.
Oh yeah, we'll go with him. You're right.
This might be
Need a little bit of chalk.
And then let's see how much is that Nurkic? 68.
Yeah, I don't want.
That's a lot.
It makes sense. So he's chalky too.
Yeah.
It's fine for a first look build here.
It's a lot of stacking, but it's good.
No, I think it's a good slate to do that for sure. Yeah. And then any kind of final thoughts for this slate? We do have to get out of here in just a second with the NFL live stream coming up here at the top of the hour, guys. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, any final thoughts here?
Yeah, super interesting slate. Just monitor the Drew Holiday news. That's pretty much the biggest piece of news we have. So try to stay locked in on that. And let's go win some money, man. Should be a fun slate.
Yeah, I agree. FanDuel value is pretty darn good today, guys. So if you are playing there, just make sure to be attacking some of those pretty good FanDuel values that we mentioned on the slate as well. So that's going to do it, guys. Again, jump on in to the live stream for NFL at the top of the hour. Appreciate you guys being here. Good luck.